You guys did something really interesting, though, that few Chicago firms have done. It's happening more now, which is you raised, I think, your Series C round from Benchmark, one of the top venture firms in the world and one of the top Silicon Valley firms. Talk a little bit about how that happened, because it's a big thing. You have Bill Gurley on your board,
right.
Flies to Chicago to be with you guys. That's, 10 years ago, people said venture guys in the Valley will never take a company that's not driving distance for them. So talk about, that's obviously changed, but you guys are an important example of that. Talk about how that came about.
Yeah, that paradigm shifted enormously. I mean, it was announced today that Belly, got Andreessen to put $10 million in. Jeff Jordan, another, ex-CEO of OpenTable. Sorry, definitely not the founder of OpenTable. We all know that guy.
Sorry, Chuck.
Yeah, sorry, Chuck. No, but so now the big venture firms on the West Coast and the East Coast are going to fly anywhere. That's just part of their business. The ideas are not only being germinated and produced in Silicon Valley because, look at this room. Like, we are all very intelligent people. We know how to create an idea, build a business, get a minimum viable product and go start selling. So this thing has really been, the concept and the process is all across the country now. So for any investor to stick to geographical reason, he or she has to have a reason to do that. That is geographically.
So certainly it seems like there'd be a lot of advantages, but you're living it now. Like, what do you see as the things that they bring to the table that are
Yeah,
really
I can tell you the process
helpful?
In terms of getting Bill on the board, because it really was Bill. Bill was the principal investor in OpenTable, and he had been with them from a time when the market was terrible and OpenTable was having a rough time, through dramatic growth and IPO. And so we had taken 2 rounds of Chicago funding. We had 2 different, actually more than 2, I think we had 3 different venture groups represented on our board at the time. And we said, and this is mid-2010, and we said, what's holding us back? We're in 15 markets. Why aren't we taking over the country right now? And it was capital at that point. It really was. We decided that we could take $10 million in funding, and we could apply that in sales to get more diners, and marketing, sales to get more restaurants, marketing to get more diners, and we could just grow both sides of the network because we had the unit economics down, we had the scaling processes down, and we knew we could do it. And so we said, okay, in the world of investors, who do we want on our board? Who would be the #1 person? And it was Bill, because we knew he was an incredibly strategic thinker, really smart guy, just went through the OpenTable process, and we said, let's give him a call. So I said, Chuck, can you put me in touch with
Chuck Templeton, who was early
founder of OpenTable, yep, early team member with us. He's been with us since 2006, well before.
As a board member.
Yeah. Well, he was with us well before we started having a board.
Yeah, but not as an employee.
Yeah, well, he was in the office.
He was in the office.
Almost every day. He may not have been getting paid.
Sorry, my bad.
Chuck is our next founder story
I'm calling him a
guest.
team member.
All right, yeah, he's
He can
a team
detail
member.
that if he wants. That's
I just
fine.
turned him on.
He's still chairman of our
We'll
board.
ask him next month. He's the chair of the board.
We could talk a little bit about partnership dynamics too, apparently.
Or not, maybe not. No, and so Chuck put us in touch, and I talked to Bill. I said, Bill, you know what we're doing fundamentally is OpenTable for pickup and delivery, except for it can be 10 times as big. And that kind of got his ear.
The first question to ask is not necessarily how do I get into so-and-so's investment portfolio. It's what do I value out of investors.
Right.
So the last thing so all investors have money, because otherwise they're just pretending to be investors.
Avoid those people.
Avoid those people because they're out there. In all seriousness, they're out there and they'll waste a lot of your time. But there are 5 things that you can get from investors that are really key. So there's sort of strategic guidance, in the boardroom. There's executional excellence that they can help provide you with. How do I actually execute a commercial real estate lease? It's useful to be able to call on someone and ask them that, right? There's help with hiring. There's help with partners, and there's M&A transactions, which I didn't think was that important early on. But over the course of your startup, you're either going to buy a company, or you're probably going to sell a company. But if you get to a certain size, you start buying companies. So you need all 5 of those things. And then number 6 is money. And you're hiring this person to be a part of your team. And if you just take whatever money comes at you first, you're not going to necessarily end up with the best set of investors.
If you're raising your first round and you're local, I wouldn't necessarily go look for coastal money, whether it's West Coast or East Coast. I would say stay closer because you're going to have a higher touch relationship with that investor. Mm-hmm. And for us, it was very important. We had monthly board meetings with Origin for the first year post our Series A investment. And having them there and being able to call someone and they could say, okay, I'll be at your office tomorrow or this afternoon. I'll come down right now and we'll have a conversation. And I like Bank's doing a great job, and they actually bring the startups into their office, and I think that's really helpful. Mm-hmm. And so if you have never taken venture money before, going to a coast, Silicon Valley and a large venture firm for an A round, it adds, well, it's not that it adds friction, but there's not as much grease in the system. Like, it's just easier. They will help you grow as an entrepreneur if you can see them more.
And I don't know if you picked up on the theme that Matt was just saying. He didn't say explicitly, but he was talking about going and asking investors for their valuable advice, which is very different from how do you pick an investor who's not going to bother me. The former creates higher potential for success. The latter is just hubris, right? Investors who are in the VC world are not investing because they want to make, not just because they want to make a ton of money. They want to create businesses. Otherwise, they might be in private equity or some other type of investing as opposed to venture capital. So venture capitalists generally have a lot of good advice to share with entrepreneurs.
So you guys have given a lot of lessons here, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, of the things you've done. You make a lot of decisions, and when you're making them, the future is uncertain, and you don't know which ones are going to be the important ones. If you had to say, what was your one or two most important decisions you made, that thank God we did that, but what do you reflect back on and go?
Hands down, putting service first. The restaurants care about their patrons, about the diners, a lot. And so by extension, if we care about the restaurants a lot, the best thing we can do for them is take care of their diners for them. That and providing value to the restaurants so that they're more likely to be in business a year after signing up for our company than not. Doing those two things, that's the North Star that guides everything that we do. And that's it. I mean, that's been the secret of our success.
And if you had to do something differently, like if each of you, just separately, if you had to say, one move, I would definitely do this differently if we had to play this whole thing out again, what would it be?
That's tough because I've got a very large ego. No,
I didn't want to say anything, but
I'm kidding. We've definitely had a lot of learning experiences. I would say that it's not, in my mind, you make mistakes, but it's not like it's a failure. Like, you make a mistake, you make a dumb call, you learn from it quickly, and you pivot, you change what you're doing. And so, our business model was wrong. Like, it wasn't aligned with restaurants when we started the company. And so the best thing you can do is be very aware, when you're going down the wrong path, as quickly as possible. And I used to talk with Mike about, like, radar, and this was like early in 2005, and we're saying, I'm picking up that something's off, something's going wrong, and we're not doing this right. What can we do better? What's really causing the friction in this process? And so I wouldn't say we've never allowed ourselves to go too far down the wrong path. We catch ourselves, we try to right that wrong, and we're typically a better company because of it.
They get better every game kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's 4 or 5 mistakes we're making right now. We just don't know what they are yet, right? But sort of constant vigilance helps you solve those problems.
We used that in our employee meeting. We said, who won the Super Bowl this year? A team that lost 4 games in a row in the middle of the season, but they got better every game.
Right.
And it's not about do you win every game. It's do you get better every game. And it makes a big difference. As an entrepreneur, you're not going to win every game. It's just part of the territory. Talk about Chicago for a minute. You guys have built this company in Chicago. Talk about what it's like to build a company in Chicago when you did it and what you see it like now.
Chicago's a great place to build a company. I mean, we would not have been as successful if we'd started the company anywhere but Chicago. And it's an even better place to start a company now because of 1871 and Accelerate and everything that's going on around the startup scene.
So what was it that gave you the advantage here in Chicago? What did Chicago bring you?
There wasn't, so at the time, and I'm remembering back, there wasn't a lot of hype around the entrepreneurial scene. So we were able to spot something that we knew we could fix, and we knew it would be valuable if we could fix it. We just didn't know how we'd make it valuable, but we saw it there, and we addressed it, and we went after it, and we talked to restaurants. And we didn't get too full of ourselves. Like, we were walking in restaurants, Mike said, walking into restaurants, eating a lot of pizza, because he's trying to convince the restaurateur that online is the way that they are going to be advertising their services and transacting orders in the future. Mm-hmm. And so
this was before Facebook existed.
Yeah.
I mean, online, like, it's crazy.
No, it's true. But so, I mean, not not going to, constantly going to social events where people are saying, oh, that's the most fantastic idea ever. Here, why don't you talk to these guys? Like, we were able to focus on the customers. I think you've heard us say a lot during this conversation, focus on your customers. Listen to your customers. Don't get too ahead of yourself. Don't think that you have this wonderful whiteboarded model of a product, because it's not going to match what your customers actually care about. And so I think we had that benefit. And then, Chicago's a fantastic metropolitan area. There are really, really smart people here. And there are massive businesses that are employing great people. And so we were able to say, hey, look at what we've done so far. We need somebody to manage marketing for us. I had
lunch with the guy today who said, oh, yeah, a bunch of our people went over there. And then he said, oh, but they really like it. They're very happy. So he sort of had to feel good for his employees. But he did say he has a lot of ex-employees that are now GrubHubbers.
Yeah, and we've had one employee leave GrubHub to go start a food truck. And if there's a reason to quit, it's to go start another company. Like, yes, how can I help you?
She told us about it, and it was a tough decision for her, but we were like, obviously, if that's what you want to do, go.